Good evening, guys. I hope everyone is having a good Wednesday. All right, I just want to talk to you about Wellness Wednesday. Today, I want to talk about thyroid and the importance of the thyroid. And sometimes, and I hear this a lot, we go to the doctor and we can have symptoms show up. We can be having symptoms and we can go and get tested and our GP will say that we're fine. And now I hear this a lot, and so I just want to address it and talk about this and what's really going on when we hear this and why it actually gets missed by our GP. So first of all, what are thyroid symptoms? So just to go through, like you can do a quick search and sometimes I have people say to me, I think I've got thyroid symptoms. Some other people won't be even aware. But some of the common symptoms of thyroid not working properly could be either hypothyroid, so slow, anything O, hypo, slow, or hyper fast. So too fast, too slow. So weight loss, weight gain, brain fog, change in appetite, anxiety, irritability, fatigue, depression, dry skin, hair loss, overheating, feeling the cold, high cholesterol is a big one, thick skin, muscle weakness, brittle hair, changes in the menstrual cycle. Now that could be, a lot of those are interchangeable for both hypo and hyper, so slow and fast thyroid. And then we also go into the realm of autoimmune. So that's really important, but there's a few problems with what happens when you go to the doctor, and it's not any doctor's fault. Things do get missed, but I think for the most part, I think it's the system that is, the way the system is trained and the way that they look at things. They're looking for a disease state. They're not looking for just a slow thyroid or a fast thyroid unless it's really out. And it's got to be quite extreme for them to pay attention, and really the only tools that they've got in their belt is medication or surgery. That's it. And so what I want to go through, first of all, let's talk about what the thyroid does and the importance of the thyroid gland. It's a little butterfly-shaped gland that lives here, and it's part of our endocrine system. Anything that says endocrine is hormones, and it's our part of our hormonal system and the hormones that we make and manufacture in our body. And the thyroid is a big central part of this, and it has a big impact on the rest of our hormonal production. It's responsible for growth as a kid, metabolism, development of the human body as you're growing up, like bone development, nervous system development, brain development. And it really regulates, it helps regulate our metabolism. That's one of the main big roles that it plays. It generates heat. It keeps us the right temperature. So what happens is we have this little gland here, and we make, and I'm going to talk about this more, but we make thyroid hormones, and then these hormones have an impact on all these mechanisms in the bodies and these reactions in the bodies, okay? And all of these are what I'm listing. The metabolic function is our basal metabolic rate and the regulation of fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. So how we process our food and how we use that as fuel. And it also influences mood, and that it can be anything from irritability to aggression to anger, to moodiness, to low mood, anxiety, shaking. There's such a big list of brain fog is another big one as well. So when we're talking about the thyroid, first of all, that I just want you to understand that plays a big role, and it also plays a role in our menstrual cycle and regulating our, impacting our menstrual cycle. And so when anyone comes to me and they're talking about anything really with their health, the first thing I want to know is what's your thyroid doing, because it has such a big knock-on effect to everything else. And we've got to really know, how is that performing and what's it doing, and is it functioning at optimal level? Now, one of the problems with when we go to the doctor is that the ranges that the labs test for are just basically the medium of the range with everyone that's been tested. But think about the people that often are going to the doctor are often not optimally healthy. You don't get a shitload of, pardon my French, but a heap of people who are healthy then going to the doctor, and they've got this real scope of healthy people and what healthy looks like. It's actually not like that. And the problem is that these ranges keep changing because the health of the population is changing and getting sicker and sicker. So what a healthy thyroid used to look like in the ranges on a pathology sheet 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago is very different to what it is now, because it's changed and they've kept widening the range. So what wasn't normal a lot like years ago is actually now considered normal when it actually isn't. And so when I'm looking at ranges, I'm always looking at optimal ranges. What is the thyroid humming along, all cylinders firing, and it's part of your engine, and is it humming along nicely, and is it going well and purring like a kitten? And so the thyroid hormones affect every single cell in our body. They have an impact on every single cell in our body. And so this is really, really important. And so the reason that it often gets missed is because they're looking at the ranges and they're not looking at optimal ranges. And this is the biggest problem. And so and this is the problem with the system, until something is really out, most doctors are only allowed to test TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, which isn't actually even your thyroid hormone. And it's out of the range. And if it's out of the range, then they can test for other things. Or often they're able to test for T3, T4, or free T3 and free T4, which is your active version. Now, T3 and T4 thyroid hormone is your inactive T4, and T3 is your active. I'm going to show you a diagram in a minute. And so what that means is how well your thyroid is working, how much hormone you're making. And even those ranges are not really observed in an optimal way. And until they're thrown way out, then they don't look at them. And then thyroid antibodies is also the next thing, which often gets missed. And I unfortunately see this where I'll test and then be like, okay, we've got a problem here because there's thyroid antibodies. So, which can mean either Hashimoto's, can mean Graves' disease. And it's like, it's something you don't want. And so you want to try and catch it early before more damage is done. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. So I have shown this before to you guys. I've been watching this for a wee little while. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so here's the diagram. I love it. I'm just going to make this a bit bigger so I can read it. So this is basically how the thyroid works. And here is your thyroid. This is the little butterfly-shaped gland. You can't unfortunately see my mouse. But here is the thyroid, and we make T4, and then T4 is the inactive hormone. It then gets converted to T3, or it can go down this other path and get converted to reverse T3, and then it goes into the cell. So what happens is for us to, first of all, make T4, and then the conversion, we need iron, iodine, tyrosine, zinc, selenium, vitamin E, B1, B2, B6, vitamin C, and vitamin D. That's a lot. Now, I see a lot of people, so many people low in vitamin D, so many people low in zinc, so many people low in iodine and selenium, and iron, actually, and also B vitamins, most of them, right? So now you can see this. This is reliant. We need these cofactors to convert T4 into T3. Now, the things that can impact the production of these thyroid hormones are stress, infection, trauma, radiation, medications, fluoride. And one of the reasons why fluoride is really a big problem is because it is an antagonist. It basically means it blocks the absorption of iodine. Now, when you talk about thyroid hormone, T4 means there's 4 molecules of iodine, and T3 means there's 3 molecules of iodine. So basically, we need iodine to even make thyroid hormone. So if you don't have enough iodine, which a lot of people don't, we used to get iodine from milk because the pipes that milk was transported in from the cow to the containers, etc., and processed, they used to clean the pipes in Australia anyway with iodine, and people used to get a lot of their iodine because we've got very mineral poor soil. And so a lot of our minerals we're very deficient in. And iodine actually used to come through milk. And so when they changed that process and they stopped cleaning the pipes with iodine, they actually saw the incidence of thyroid disease. They saw the incidence of thyroid disease increase. So that's one. And then number 2 is we've got the introduction of anything in the haloid family, which is fluoride and bromide. And fluoride is in our water, and bromide is used in a lot of different things, including that new car smell, fire retardant, stuff like that. And it actually binds to the receptor of iodine and we can't absorb it. And so this is a big problem. And so these are the things that inhibit the production of thyroid hormones, as well as then on top of these toxins, pesticides, mercuries, that's not even a word, heavy metals, mercury, cadmium, lead, and autoimmune diseases. So if you're a celiac, that can also block the production, right? Now, factors that can increase the conversion. So it can come down this little pathway, and as you can see, it can go to reverse T3, which basically means it's not usable. It's not as helpful, and it can still go into the cell, but it's not really used. So stress, same thing, stress, trauma, low calorie diet, really important. A lot of women going on, and this is why I say, I know I do talk about when you're talking about hormones, I don't have a problem with low-ish carb. You can eat like a paleo type diet and still have a decent amount of carbohydrates, but low carb diets can be a problem, as can low calorie diets, because we need a little bit of carbohydrate. We need the glucose to make that conversion. If we don't have it, it becomes a problem. Then we have things like inflammation, which is cytokines. Inflammatory cytokines is an inflammatory marker. Toxins, infections, liver and kidney dysfunction, and certain medications. So that will all also impact the conversion. Factors to increase the conversion from T4 to T3, zinc and selenium, and we need those to convert. And then factors to improve the cell sensitivity, so meaning how much each cell can absorb thyroid hormone or be open and have a receptor, vitamin A, zinc, again, and exercise. Now, I can tell you right now, at the moment, most people that I am testing are low in zinc and low in vitamin D, and a lot of women are low in iron. So if you're just low in those alone and you don't have any other factors, which you probably do, you can see there's a high possibility that your thyroid is not working properly. So this is really important. Now, GPs, doctors, no like disregard to them, but they aren't allowed in Australia to put on Medicare tests like zinc, selenium, iodine, and they actually don't get trained really in these minerals and how to use them with the body, which is ridiculous because, as you can see, this is really important for healthy function. So when you're looking at the minerals that we need and the vitamins and the minerals to have our thyroid function, it's like, why are we not testing the things that impact the thyroid function, and why are we not looking at the thyroid from an optimal range? So that is how I look at it. I think it's really important to just understand this diagram, and this is something I now go through with all my clients, because if the thyroid's not functioning properly, it's like there's a lot of stuff here to work on. And you've got to figure out what is the thing that's impacting it and what's really happening. Now, the other thing that really happens with thyroid is autoimmune gets missed. And so you also want your thyroid antibodies. And so unless they've got reason to test for thyroid antibodies, they generally don't. This is what you can ask. And if you've got some sort of pre-existing health condition, I've seen it tested, but I've also seen it tested and then they don't test. There's other things they don't test. So they might test T3, T4, they don't test antibodies. They might test antibodies and they don't test T3, 4. I can never really figure it out why this sort of line of thought is. But this is really important. So this is like, how are we absorbing our food? How are we deficient? And all of these, like these nutrients, it's really interesting. A lot of these are also really important for healthy skin and healthy gut. And so if our gut is not working and we aren't clearing out and detoxifying correctly through the liver and the gut, and for the gut to be in a good condition, we need zinc, we need vitamin D, we need iodine, we need selenium, we need what else have I got in there? Vitamin C, vitamin D. Stress can impact it. If the gut's not working, inflammation can impact it. So they're very much connected. And so this is why this model of looking at things, and stress is a big part. Like a lot of what I do with people and when I work with them is really teaching them how to regulate themselves and manage their stress and actually get to the root cause of it. And a lot of it ultimately comes down to lack of self-worth and self-love. And so this then impacts all of our hormones. It impacts our stress hormones and then has a knock-on effect with the way that our thyroid functions. So there's this combination of things we've got to work on. I hope you found that helpful, but I hope that's hopefully gave you some insight to, if you're feeling frustrated and you've gone to the doctor and you've gone, I'm just going to stop the share, and you've gone to the doctor and you're like, I don't feel good. I'm putting on weight. I am so low in energy. My skin is dry. I just can't explain it. I've got low sex drive. My menstrual cycle has changed. Like whatever it is, the thyroid must be investigated. And even if the thyroid can come back normal, if you catch the nutrients early, so if you test for the nutrients I was just talking about, the vitamins and minerals, and you catch it early, then you're not going to get a thyroid problem. And this is where I think we should be headed, going, let's address it before it gets too late. Now, I personally have had thyroid issues. After I had my kidney out, I discovered I had some nodules in my thyroid and my iodine was very low. And it's constantly something I've got to keep on top of and really make sure that I'm addressing. And it is hard. Even I have a really good diet and it can be challenging to keep it up. It's challenging to get it into your diet without supplementation, and I've got to keep testing. So there's people out there that are like, I'm not supplementing. It's like, okay, but that's also them in the factor with not having a good diet. We're heading for disaster. So if you are struggling with any of those symptoms that I shared with you, reach out to me, ask questions. Ask questions about where do I get it done. My advice is to work with someone like myself or a practitioner where you can go and get the testing done, who's going to work alongside a doctor. And sometimes just going and doing it privately is the best choice. And other times going to the GP is an option. It just depends on budget, time, etc., what your relationship like with your GP and what your GP is like. But I personally believe that everyone should be testing their thyroid on a regular basis, at least once a year, once every 18 months, just to see where things are. Have a checkup, see where it is. But when you go have a checkup, you want to have having a real checkup, and you want to be looking at optimal ranges and going, are my levels in optimal range? Because if I want real health and vitality, I've got to be looking at things differently, not just looking for a disease state. I hope you found that helpful. If you've got any questions, please comment below and I will endeavour to answer them, or just reach out to me. All right, see you guys. Have a good night.